All right. Good morning, P10 Ice Daily Show. Happy Thursday morning. I hope your day is off to a fantastic start. My name is Alan. I'm happy to be your host today. Currently have the pleasure of serving as Chief Operating Officer here at ICE and a lead faculty in our fitness athlete division. Leadership Thursday, we talk all things practice ownership, small business, and leadership and management. It's Thursday, which means it is Gut Check Thursday as well. This week's Gut Check was stolen unashamedly from Mayhem Athlete last week. We did this workout here last Thursday. It is much tougher than it looks. So we have 3 rounds for time, 21 dumbbell shouldered overhead with the right shoulder, 21 inverted ring rows, which means you elevate your feet so that in the bottom position at full extension, your body looks like a plank, and then you're pulling the rings to the chest. 21 of those. Jump up, 21 dumbbell shouldered overhead on the left, and then 21 more inverted ring rows. So 3 rounds through that. It is a ring row workout. You will walk out of the gym sideways. Your upper body will be so pumped up. It's quite a challenging workout. So check out Instagram for the post for recommended scaling options and modifications for Gut Check Thursday. Courses coming your way this weekend. You can join Mitch still down in Greenville, South Carolina at CrossFit Reaction for Fitness Athlete Live. You can join Christine and Alexis out in Bellingham, Washington for Pregnancy and Postpartum Live. And then you can still jump into Professional Bike Fit up in Minneapolis, Minnesota with Jason and Matt. 2 weeks from now, so next weekend we're off for Memorial Day. 2 weekends from now, the weekend of the 4th and 5th of June, you still have a chance to join Mitch out in Maryland for Fitness Athlete Live. And in the weekend of June 11th and 12th, you have a couple chances to catch Older Adult Live, one with Christina down in Orlando, the other one with Dustin Jones, Jeff Musgrave, and yours truly out in Kingman, Arizona. Or you can join the Rehab of the Injured Runner crew up in Casper, Wyoming for Rehab of the Injured Runner Live. And then a couple online courses, Fitness Athlete Essential Foundations with myself, Mitch, Kelly, and Guillermo will be starting June 6th. That'll be the last cohort of the summer. We have about 15 spots left for that class. It always sells out, so it'll probably be sold out within the next week or two. So if you're looking to get that in before the winter, go ahead and jump into that cohort. And then next Tuesday, Rehab of the Injured Runner 8 weeks online begins as well. So let's get into today's topic, talking about drawing parallels, again, between the military and physical therapy. We're going to talk about the idea that the infantryman, or now the infantry woman, the infantry person, is the most important person in the Army. So the purpose of the Army is to fight and win wars. Therefore, the person who does that fighting is arguably the most important. Now, we might think of the military, of kind of the grunts, the fighters, as the bottom of the totem pole, the people who probably get the least support because all they do, quote unquote, all they do is fighting. They are not typically thought of as doing any sort of higher level thinking or planning. They're not involved in military intelligence or reconnaissance or fixing advanced vehicles and planes and helicopters and all that stuff. We tend to think that those jobs are more important. What we realize is that the fundamental operating person of the Army is indeed the infantryman, the person who, when asked to, is going to go to war, and that all those other jobs actually only exist to support the infantrymen. And then when it comes down to it, the person that gets the most support is indeed that Army infantryman. So that every other job exists to support that person. All of the communication, radios, trucks, food, water, beans, bullets, etc., goes to that person, because when it comes down to it, that is the person we rely on to fight our wars for it. And that when we compare the military, specifically the Army infantry and the Marine Corps infantry, to the rest of the country, we really only have about 300,000 people who are able to pick up a gun and protect over 300 million. So quite outnumbered as far as the demand that we place on those people. And that therefore the infantryman takes the first priority with all of those things. That it makes no sense for that person to be the worst paid, the worst equipped, to not have a lot of support, to be hungry, tired, starving, dehydrated, that when we call that person up to fight, that is the best prepared person. A really good example of this is walking into the mess hall. When an infantry unit walks into the mess hall, especially overseas on deployment, everybody else gets out of line, because those people probably have about 20 minutes to eat before they're being asked to go do some sort of duty or go out on a mission. And then everybody else on that base is support personnel, and that theoretically they are not as important as that infantryman. And so if that person's needs are not met, the organization grinds to a halt. And a really good book to read, a book I think really every person should read, is a book by Simon Sinek. You may know him. He wrote the book Start With Why, but he also wrote a fantastic book called Leaders Eat Last. He wanted to dig into and find out why U.S. military organizations are so incredibly well run, so organized, so well supported. And he found the core of that reason is the idea that leaders eat last, that the people who actually have to do the hard work, the grunt work, are put first. They literally eat first, and leaders eat last. And that when you look at businesses don't tend to follow this mindset. They tend to find CEO eats first, right? The people at the top take the money first, they take the resources first, and that whatever is left over then goes to the people lower and lower and lower in the totem pole. And that the reason the military is so successful and has been so successful for hundreds of years is the concept of leaders eat last. And so this always has me thinking of, if the military runs this way, why doesn't physical therapy run this way? Why doesn't healthcare run this way? Because you're probably thinking, that's not how I'm treated, right? And if we now take that parallel, that comparison, that there are only about 300,000 people capable of picking up a rifle and fighting for 317 million people, we see there's a very well comparison there to the profession of physical therapy, and that we also only have about 300,000 physical therapists to care for over 317 million people. And then actually we probably have less than that. If we pull out folks who are not treating full time, we pull out folks who are in administrative positions, folks who are doing insurance auditing, or folks who are maybe faculty at a university who have left clinical practice, there's probably actually only 100,000 full-time practicing physical therapists in the country with a license. And so we make that comparison to, okay, if the military has very few amount of people who can fight, yet all those people are really well taken care of, if there's even less physical therapists over here for the same group of people, why do we have such a problem in our profession with folks not feeling supported, with folks not being paid well? And we look at the concept again of leaders eating last, right? That when we look at what is the functional organizational position in a physical therapy clinic, in the physical therapy profession, it's us, right? It's the staff physical therapist. It's the person who comes to work every day and treats the patients. That much like the military, if the infantryman, the infantry person does not show up, if you don't show up to the clinic and see patients and bill those patients, whether you're taking insurance or cash, money stops flowing. And what we found in COVID is that most physical therapy clinics only have about a month's worth of operating expenses in the bank. So that if you stop coming to work for maybe even a week, your clinic is probably going to grind to a halt. And so if there's a really nice comparison there between the military and physical therapy as far as manpower, as far as support, we have to ask ourselves, why are physical therapists so poorly treated? That if you were to stop going to work for a couple of days, your clinic might go bankrupt. Why aren't you treated better? It makes sense that if you are the frontline worker, you should have more support, right? Why are there renovations for a bigger office for the back office staff, but you still don't have a barbell in your clinic, right? There's $10,000 for a new office or new computers or this and that for the folks higher up in the totem pole, but there's not $150 for you for a barbell. We have to ask ourselves, why is that? And I think, much like I said, it's back to that concept of leaders eating last. It's not something that we embody in physical therapy. It's not something that we embody in healthcare or in business in general, that we look at top down, we look at pay myself first, and then whatever money is left over, that becomes my budget to pay everybody else, instead of looking at it the way the military looks at it and saying, we need to get everything we need, all the support possible for that person at the bottom, and make sure that they're able to function when we need them. And then everything left over is for those folks who are further up on the pyramid. And we have that inversion of the pyramid in physical therapy, which is why we experience so much of the frustration we have with being overbooked, with not being paid well. And another comparison here is physical therapy to maybe something like United Auto Workers, right? The people who go to work every day and make cars. Again, they are the functional unit of that organization. If they don't go to work and make cars, there are no cars for the line haulers to transport, so they don't have a job. There are no cars for the dealers to sell, so they don't have a job. No cars being sold means no revenue is flowing into the auto company, which means all of the engineers and the corporate officers don't get paid, right? And if we look at physical therapy and we pull out faculty from universities, we pull out researchers, we pull out folks who are no longer in practice, we find that the median salary for a physical therapist across the United States is $65,000. We find the median salary for a United Auto Worker employee on the line making a car also $65,000. What's the difference there? 7 years of education, about $300,000 in student loan debt, right? And so we start to weigh the scale and say, what's going on? Why are all of our resources in physical therapy going to the top and not the bottom if we are that frontline person? And so this is not a call to revolt or form a union or anything like that, but to question why at the bottom of the totem pole are we getting the least support in the clinic? And it's something to bring up to those of you who are feeling frustrated that you yet don't have that barbell or that assault bike or that set of kettlebells. And for those of you moving up into leadership positions, those of you thinking of opening your own clinic, or maybe those of you who already are and you're looking at hiring your first employee, remember the success that the military has comes from putting that person on the bottom first, right? That functional person is the infantry person. The functional person in a physical therapy clinic is the staff physical therapist, that if they're not doing well, they're probably going to leave eventually, right? And if we look at money-wise, why should we be really focused on retention? It's going to cost you about $14,000 every time somebody quits your clinic, right? So if you have 1 or 2 people who quit a year, you're looking at $25,000, maybe even $50,000 in lost productivity, retention costs, training costs to hire a new person. Over time, that really eats away at your profit. So if you're on the top of the pyramid and you're thinking, why should I care about this? That's why, right? You are losing money, a tremendous amount of money every time somebody leaves your clinic and looks for greener pastures. Just grow that greener grass where you're at, right? Make sure those people on the bottom feel supported. That should be your main goal as a leader, is that the people on the bottom are well taken care of so that they come to work every day and do their job. That's where the money comes from in physical therapy. Much like in the military, when the time comes, those are the people that we're going to send away to war. We want to make sure that they're well supported. They have all the resources they need to be successful. But again, we don't really see that happen in physical therapy, but we should. So question yourself, if you're in the staff physical therapist position, am I being supported or not? Is that why I don't feel frustrated? If you're moving on up to a leadership position or maybe looking at hiring your first employee, remember, take care of the bottom, right? Take care of the base of that pyramid so you build a really strong foundation so that you're not spending 15 to 20 grand every time somebody quits and gets a new job and you have to hire somebody else. So food for thought. I would love to hear a discussion on this. Go ahead and throw your comments over on Instagram and I'll get back to them. Have fun with Gut Check Thursday. If you're going to be at a live course this weekend, we hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'll actually be back tomorrow to talk about some CrossFit on Fitness Athlete Friday. So have a wonderful Thursday. I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Bye, everybody.